Sexual confidence is not just about knowing the right techniques or about having a lot of experience or about how you look. Sexual confidence is psychological, and so many women are walking around with psychological blocks that they don't even recognize, blocks that are keeping them from their full sexual aliveness. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly what creates sexual confidence from a psychological perspective. I'm going to share the 5 core components that have to be in place and what gets in the way for many women. So if you've ever felt somewhat disconnected from your body during sex, or kind of wondering what all the fuss about pleasure is all about, or just kind of sense that there's more available to you than what you're currently experiencing, then this video is for you. Hi Angel, welcome back to my YouTube channel. And if you're new here, my name is Ida and I help women awaken their feminine energy, become absolutely magnetic, and have unforgettable intimacy. So if that's your vibe, hit subscribe. And I also made a brand new free masterclass called Awaken Your Sensual Aura. So it's a 90-minute deep dive masterclass with guided practices to really awaken your sensuality and feminine magnetism. And it's only available for free for a few more days. So if you want to go deeper beyond YouTube, you can sign up through the link below. All right, so before we dive into the components, let's get clear on what sexual confidence actually is, because I think a lot of women have the wrong idea. Sexual confidence isn't about being good at sex by some external standard. It's not about performance. It's not about knowing a bunch of really cool techniques or positions. And it's definitely not about experience, because you can actually have a lot of sexual experience and still have zero or very little sexual confidence, whereas you can also have very little experience and be deeply confident. So what is it? Sexual confidence is presence. It's being fully in your body during intimacy rather than watching yourself from the outside. It's embodiment. It's feeling sensations rather than being lost in thoughts. It's an unshakable internal sense that your pleasure matters, that your desires are welcome, and that your sexuality belongs to you. It's the freedom to express yourself, your sounds, your movements, your wants and desires without shame or apology. And notice that all of this is internal. It's psychological. It's about your relationship with yourself, which means it can be developed. It can be built. You're not born with it or without it, but you have to understand what creates it first. So let's break it down. So the first component of sexual confidence is your relationship with your body. Specifically, are you in it or are you at war with it? Many women have a very complicated relationship with their body. And by complicated, I mean adversarial. From a young age, we're taught to see our bodies as objects to be evaluated by ourselves, by others. We learn to monitor our bodies, criticize them, try to control them. We learn that our bodies are never quite right, always a little too much of something or not enough of something else. And this objectification follows us everywhere, including into the bedroom. And there's actually a psychological term for this. It's called self-objectification. It's when you view yourself from an outside perspective, almost like an object to be looked at, rather than from the inside as a subject having an experience. And research shows that self-objectification directly correlates with lower sexual satisfaction and lower arousal. So here's what that looks like in practice. So you're in the bedroom with someone, but instead of feeling what's happening, all the sensations, the pleasure, the connection, you're watching yourself from the outside. You're thinking about how your stomach looks from this angle, or whether your face looks weird, or if you're making the right sounds, or how your thighs appear in this position. You're not in your body. You're outside of it, evaluating it. And when you're doing that, you can't actually feel pleasure because you're too busy monitoring and judging to be present to the sensations that are present. And this is incredibly common. Many women do this to some degree. It's so automatic that we don't even notice it's happening. Sexual confidence requires shifting from this objectification to inhabitation, from watching your body to actually being in it. This means developing a relationship with your body that isn't based on how it looks, but on how it feels. It means practicing presence, actually feeling sensations rather than thinking about how you look or appear. And this is a fundamental shift, and it doesn't happen overnight, but it is a foundation of everything else. Now, the second component is perhaps the most important, and it's one most women have never consciously examined. At the core of sexual confidence is a belief, a simple belief that changes everything. I deserve pleasure. My pleasure matters. I'm allowed to feel good. Sounds obvious, right? But here's the thing. Most women don't actually believe this, not deep down. Many women believe, often unconsciously, that pleasure is earned, that it's conditional, that it's secondary to his pleasure, or even that it's dangerous, that it's something that leads to bad things if you want it too much. And where do these beliefs come from? Childhood messaging, religious upbringing, purity culture that taught you that your sexuality was dangerous or shameful, maybe parents who were uncomfortable with anything related to bodies or pleasure, early experiences that taught you your body wasn't yours or that your desires were wrong. And these messages get internalized. They become part of your psychological operating system without you even realizing it. And then they show up in the bedroom. So let me give you some examples of how this unworthiness of pleasure actually manifests. So one example might be that you rush through receiving. So when the attention is on you, you feel uncomfortable. You want to hurry up and get to his pleasure because that feels safer. Or maybe it's that you can't relax into being pleasured. Your mind is busy thinking, this is taking too long, I should be doing something for him, I don't deserve this much attention. And you focus on his experience instead of yours. You're monitoring whether he's enjoying himself rather than checking in with your own body. Or maybe you minimize your own pleasure. You pretend something feels good when it actually doesn't. You don't ask for what you actually want. You settle for less than what's available to you. Or maybe you completely disconnect. When pleasure starts to build, you check out. You go into your head, you numb out. Because deep down, some part of you doesn't feel safe receiving that much pleasure. And all of these are symptoms of the same root issue. Not believing that you're worthy of pleasure. And here's the painful truth. Until you believe you deserve pleasure, you'll unconsciously sabotage it every single time. No technique or position or partner can override that core belief. This is psychological work. It's about uncovering the messages that you absorbed and consciously choosing different beliefs. It's about rewiring your sense of what you're allowed to have. Now, the third component is freedom from shame. And I want to spend some time on this one because shame is one of the single biggest killers of sexual confidence. Shame about your body, shame about your desires, shame about what turns you on, shame about how long it takes you to orgasm, shame about the sounds you make, shame about wanting sex, shame, 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 shame. It is everywhere. And it's absolutely devastating to your sexuality. So here's what shame does psychologically. Shame makes you hide. When you feel shame about something, your instinct is to conceal it, to make sure no one sees that part of you. So in the bedroom, this means you're not fully showing up. You're hiding parts of yourself. You're not letting yourself be seen. Shame makes you perform. Instead of being authentic, actually feeling what you feel, expressing what's true, you perform what you think is acceptable. You moan in the way you think you should. You act turned on when you're not. You fake pleasure because your real experience feels too shameful to show. Shame makes you disconnect. When shame is present, it's hard to stay in your body. Shame is so uncomfortable that we instinctively leave, we dissociate, we go into our heads, we numb out. And this is a protective mechanism, but it means you're not actually present for the experience and the pleasure. Shame makes you also judge your own desire. When something turns you on, instead of enjoying it, you judge yourself for it. Like, why does that excite me? That's weird. That's wrong. What's wrong with me? And that judgment kills the arousal. So where does this sexual shame come from? Sometimes it's really obvious. Religious upbringing that explicitly taught you that sex was sinful, purity culture, parents who shamed you for very normal sexual curiosity. Sometimes it can also be more subtle, like absorbing cultural messages around what good girls do and don't do, being called a slut, having an early sexual experience that didn't feel good, never experiencing any positive messaging about sexuality. Most women carry some degree of sexual shame. It's almost unavoidable given the culture we grew up in. And here's what's important to understand. You cannot think your way out of shame. Shame isn't a belief you can just intellectually override. It's not enough to tell yourself, I shouldn't feel ashamed, there's nothing wrong with my sexuality. because shame lives in the body. It's a visceral, physical experience. It's that flush of heat, that urge to hide, the contraction in your chest, which means that releasing shame has to happen through the body, not just through the mind. It requires somatic work. It requires actually feeling the shame, being present with it, and allowing it to move through rather than suppressing it. And this is deep work. It doesn't happen from reading a book or understanding the concept. It happens through practice, through process, through actually going into the body and releasing what's stored there. But when you do this work, when you genuinely start to free yourself from shame, everything changes. You can be seen, you can be authentic, you can stay present, you can let yourself want what you want without judgment. And that is freedom, and that is sexual confidence. Now, the fourth component of sexual confidence is a sense of agency and ownership over your sexuality. Sexually confident women feel like their sexuality belongs to them, not to their partner, not to society's expectation, not to their past experiences, not to whatever trauma they may have been through. Their sexuality is theirs. They own it. And this might sound obvious, but think about how many women don't actually experience their sexuality this way. For some women, sexuality can feel like it's something that happens to them rather than something they actively participate in and direct, like they're more passive recipients rather than agents. For some women, sexuality can feel like it belongs to their partner, that it exists for his pleasure, that it's something she provides rather than something she actually experiences for herself. For some women, sexuality feels hijacked by the past, by trauma, by experiences that took away their sense of choice and control. Their body maybe doesn't feel like their own. For some women, sexuality feels like it belongs to society's expectation, like they're performing what they think they're supposed to be, sexy in the acceptable ways, desiring the acceptable things, expressing themselves in the acceptable manner, and none of that is ownership. Ownership means having an internal locus of control around your sexuality. It means making choices about your sexuality from a place of genuine desire, not obligation, not fear, not wanting to please or perform. It means feeling like you have options, like you can say yes or no freely, like you decide what happens with your body. It means your sexuality is for you first, not for him, not for anyone else, for you. And this sense of ownership is deeply psychological, and it's often tied to early experiences. If you had experiences where your body wasn't yours, where your boundaries were violated, where you didn't have choice, where your sexuality was taken rather than given, it can be hard to feel ownership now. If you grew up in an environment where your desires didn't matter, where you were expected to comply, where you learned that your job was to please others, ownership might feel really foreign. But reclaiming ownership is possible, and it just requires conscious work. It starts with asking yourself, whose sexuality is this? Am I making choices from my own desire or from obligation, fear, or performance? It means practicing saying no when you don't want something, even the smallest things, so that your yes actually means something. It means exploring your own pleasure on your own terms outside of a partner so that you have a relationship with your sexuality that's entirely yours. It means recognizing when you're performing versus being authentic and choosing authenticity even when it feels uncomfortable. When you truly own your sexuality, everything changes. You're not looking for external validation. You're not performing for anyone. You're simply a woman at home within her own sexuality. And the fifth and final component is the integration of sexuality into your identity. So here's what I mean by that. Many women compartmentalize their sexuality. It's separate from who they are. It's something that exists in a very specific context, like the bedroom or with a partner at certain times, but it's not part of their everyday identity. And they might even feel like they have a sexual self that's different from their regular self, like they have to switch into a different mode to access that part of themselves. And this compartmentalization creates a disconnect. Your sexuality becomes something you do rather than something you are. Sexually confident women have integrated their sexuality. It's woven into who they are. It's not the whole of who they are, but it's a natural, accepted part. They don't need to switch into a sexual mode. They're already connected to that part of themselves. It's not separate, it's integrated. So what does this look like practically? An integrated woman feels sensual in her daily life, not just during sex. She's connected to her body throughout the day. She notices pleasure, the feeling of water on her skin, the taste of good food, the sensation of soft fabric. Sensuality isn't compartmentalized to the bedroom. An integrated woman doesn't feel like she becomes a different person during sex. There's a continuity. She's the same woman with the same values, the same essence, just in a different context. An integrated woman isn't ashamed of her sexuality in non-sexual contexts. She doesn't pretend that part of her doesn't exist. She's not advertising it, but she's not hiding it either. It's just a part of who she is. An integrated woman has her sexuality available to her. She doesn't have to work to find it or access it. It's just there. She's connected to it. She can feel it whenever she wants to. Now, why does this integration matter so much for sexual confidence? Because when your sexuality is compartmentalized, it's fragile. You have to find it, access it, turn it on. And sometimes you can't. Sometimes you feel disconnected from it and you don't know how to get it back. When your sexuality is integrated, it's stable. It's not going anywhere. It's a part of you. You don't have to search for it because it's woven into your being. And integration happens through practice, through staying connected to your body throughout the day, not just during sex, through embracing your sensuality in everyday moments, through accepting your sexuality as a natural part of who you are rather than something to hide or perform. And this is a process, but as it happens, your sexual confidence becomes less effortful because it just becomes a natural expression of your essence. All right, so these are 5 psychological components of sexual confidence. Having a relationship with your body, having the belief that you're actually worthy of pleasure, being free from shame, having a sense of agency and ownership, and integrating your sexuality into your identity. And if you're watching this and recognizing yourself, recognizing some of these patterns that I shared, I want you to know something. This isn't your fault. You were shaped this way by a culture that does not support women's sexual aliveness, by messages you absorbed before you were even old enough to actually question them, by experiences that were maybe out of your control. And I also want you to know that it can change, all of it. But here's the thing I need to be honest about. Understanding all of these things intellectually is just the first part. You can watch this video, maybe nod along and recognize the patterns, and you may have a few aha moments that already shift something. But for long, deep, lasting transformation, we have to go beyond the mind, because these patterns don't live only in the mind. They live in the body. They live in your nervous system. They live in your cellular memory of all the past experiences you've had, which means that changing them requires more than just understanding alone. It requires embodiment. It requires practice. It requires actually going into your body and rewiring these patterns at a somatic level. And if this sounds like something you want to dive deeper into, I want to invite you into my signature pleasure and sexuality program called The Liberated Woman. It's a deep dive 6-week course for women who are ready to stop understanding their sexuality intellectually and start embodying it fully. So if you're watching this and recognizing yourself in anything that I described, if you feel disconnected from your body, if you struggle to really receive pleasure, if you feel that shame is running the show, if your sexuality feels like it belongs to everyone but you, then this is a program for you. The doors are open for a very limited time only, so I'll leave the link below for you to check it out. Now, whether or not you decide to dive deeper with me in this program, I hope that these different components I shared with you in this video create some aha moments, create some deeper inquiry and reflections for you, and that it really inspires you to come home to your sexuality and to really question some of the things that may have been running the show in the bedroom, and to come back to that deep sense of inner sexual freedom, aliveness, and worthiness. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a like and subscribe to my channel. It really supports me in my work so much and helps me to create more free content for you. I'll see you in the next one. Mwah.